This video is made possible by Rocket Money. Here we are at AMP, Atlanta Motorsports Park, and Tyler is the man. This is the guy that has put all of this together and I guess genuinely cares about my well-being.
Rob has an exciting journey ahead of him going to race at Pikes Peak, so we're having him come out here to jump in some race cars to basically just get some training under his belt and understand more of the driving side of things. But what we're going to be driving today is a Radical SR1. These are built by Radical. They are assembled in the UK. We use them for our racing school. No anties, no stability control, no traction control. It is a raw race car, and I think he's gonna love it.
Very few things in life give you as much satisfaction as buying tons of random things. I am constantly buying things I both need and just want. To be honest, I'm gonna be the first person to admit this. I get a little self-sabotage that, oh, I'm already spending money on all this stuff. Why not spend more? Why not just, don't worry about it. It's whatever, I'm just losing my mind. You know what doesn't get overwhelmed? Rocket Money. Their app has saved me so much money for both two reasons. One is things that I didn't know I was spending money on, and two was things that I said, okay, I'll deal with that later. Rocket Money said, no, I'll deal with that now. It's so straightforward. All you do is you just open the app, and then look at this. Lower your bills. It's just right there. I don't have to do anything more. It's not more work. It just tells you, hey, look, we think we can get additional benefits for your insurance. My insurance is great, but you know what it reminded me? I'm insuring cars I'm not even driving. How Joel is for me making sure I get stuff done here, Rocket Money is for me with my finances. It tells me, of course, what I'm spending, what's coming up. The app is phenomenal, and I'll tell you what, if you want to save money, if you want to manage your finances better, go to rocketmoney.com/RobDahm and sign up. This app is incredible. rocketmoney.com/RobDahm. This is super exciting. Primal has let me into one of the caves of where all of the Radicals are. Now, there are actually a couple varieties of these cars. Even though to a beginner like me, they all look the same at first, then you stop for a second, wait a second, there's some distinct differences. And so they've got a couple apart here, but more importantly, look at all these.
I'm Patrick. I'm the lead tech here at Primal, so I manage pretty much all of the cars you see in this shop and then some. We've got cars in garages all over this facility. We've got cars in different states. As you can see, plenty of Radicals to work on all day, every day.
Yeah, and plus one. Normally, it's going to be just this. Patrick and I get to hang out. We talk cars and that sort of stuff. So that's what this video really covers, is what are you actually driving. But we're here not just to hang out with him, but to hang out with Tyler and actually learn how to drive it. You know me, I want to understand what these cars consist of to understand why driving them is so fun and so helpful for learning in a position like this. This is, what, the SR1?
Yes,
Is that the correct name? So this is the one that I'm actually going to be driving. Well, not this one specifically, but would it be fair to say that the one is like the entry?
Yeah, so
Yes.
the one is the baby brother to the SR3, and it's the entry for pretty much everybody into the Radical lineup.
It's pretty simple on taking off the bodywork, just some pins and clips, nothing too crazy.
It's nice. For as big of a panel as this is, it all comes off as one piece. Fold up. You can either rest the front on the airbox or have a buddy just disconnect the lights for you, and it comes right off. It's all fiberglass. You've just got the smaller support frame underneath that actually attaches to the hood pin post and supports the rear wing. Just got brake lights, rain light for when it's hard to see out, and that's about it. It's really simple, really light for as big of a piece as it is. The whole part only weighs probably 30, 40 pounds at most.
Yeah, wow. So how much does the car overall weigh?
By itself dry, you're looking at just over 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
We've got most of these cars in the spec with full fuel load and driver weight. We're looking at just shy of 1,400.
The first thing that catches my eye is the chain drive.
Yeah. So it makes it really easy. You just drop the motor in, and it runs the same chain sprocket size that the motorcycle uses.
It's a motorcycle engine in
Yeah,
this.
it's a Suzuki Hayabusa motor. This car's got the Generation 2 Suzuki Hayabusa in it. The newer cars that have just come out use the Gen 3 that it's based on. Yeah. And then Radical goes through and they add a dry sump system, a few other internals to it, just to make it a bit more reliable with the heavier weight of the car. And aside from that, it's mostly a stock motor.
Wow.
So it's 1340cc. The SR3s, so those three over there, the one on the lift, and this one behind me, you can get in a 1500 option. They make about 40 or so horsepower on top of this car. And then the base 1340 SR3s make about 20 more than this car does.
Okay. So what does this thing rev out to?
This car as it sits revs to about 9,500. And then the 1500 motors in the 3s rev to 10.5.
That's like Rotary for me. That's slightly higher than Rotary, and it makes power all the way up, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's really linear power band all the way up. It keeps pulling until you finally go to shift or hit a limiter, but hopefully not.
Yeah, that's incredible. And normal gas?
Yeah, these use 93 pump gas.
Yeah.
Of course, because we're on site, we have a fuel center here, so we use a 93 race fuel that's ethanol free, so it burns a little cleaner, but we've gone all over the country with these cars with just 93 pump.
That's incredible. And so with the engine in the back, is this more of a rear weight distribution vehicle?
A little bit more, but it's actually fairly close to 50-50 just because the driver's sitting a little bit further forward.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit,
Yeah.
but it's not crazy. I mean, you're effectively sitting on the fuel tank as well. So behind this fiberglass seat, there's some just safety paneling, and you can either have an aluminum tank option, which the SR1s come with standard, or you can also get it's an FIA fuel cell bladder. So it's full bladder that you would see in GT3 cars, Formula cars. It, rather than getting a puncture, it deforms. And it's super safe. You run them in pretty much every national and international race series.
But why would I do this instead of bring my Civic type of thing?
Yeah, well, the first thing is the fact that this is purpose-built for the track. There's no street car tech in it. You could call it a street bike technology just with the motor, but they rebuild the motors. They've got a dry sump system in it. They've tuned everything specific for the racetrack and for longevity. So you've got beefy suspension components that are going to be able to take a hit. They're going to last. Everything is designed around going as fast as possible, as safe as possible, and consistently. If you have, say, just a regular street car you take to the track, just the suspension joints alone, they're rubbery, they're designed to flex and just be comfortable. These, much stiffer. So in a race car, everything's pretty much hard mounted, and it vibrates itself to pieces, or tries to at least.
Right.
Road cars, they're not meant to do that. You'll actually have the bushings that hold the car together with the engine mounts and the suspension and everything else will start to just tear themselves apart.
That's so true. Actually, what we noticed on the 3-rotor is that we have the spherical type joints on the top, and we had the bushings on the bottom. The car would lose camber because of the bushings on the bottom. It was you could notice that on my car. So we're going to all spherical bearings. Having a more firm car, I think, just for what I've learned, is that you feel more of when the car has and doesn't have grip.
Yes.
And as a result.
Yeah, the other thing too is it's a much more stable platform from the engineering side of it, in addition to the driving side. So when you're trying to calculate things for setup with your damping, your spring rates, your anti-roll, what you don't want is additional flex in all the suspension joints. So the tire itself, especially because it's such a tall sidewall tire, the tire itself is effectively a spring. It's a pneumatic spring. It flexes, it deforms, it compresses, it extends, and if you can limit the amount of that happening throughout the rest of the car, you can really get good consistent results with your spring rates, your preload, damping, everything about your setup. It's going to be much more consistent, not just from setting a single car up from one time to the next, but when you've got like a whole fleet of them and you want every car to be the same, it makes it super easy to do.
Speaking of springs and sway and all that, the anti-roll bar in here is one of the most interesting things that I've always wanted to see in person. Is that, if I'm not mistaken, the person who invented these is the one that came up with the roll bar, or is there something along those lines?
Yeah, so it's called a Nick Link, N-I-K, and it's named after the guy that came up with it, Nick.
Okay.
The way it works is pretty interesting, actually. So typically, an anti-roll bar in most cars is twisting, so it's a torsion bar.
Yeah.
And in this, it's actually in compression and tension. So if you look at the way it's mounted, you've got a rocker on each side, and they're shaped differently for that reason. So as the car goes up and down, as this corner comes up and this corner comes up, there's nothing happening to the bar. It's still neutral because this side's going to come up, this side's going to go down with where it's positioned on the rocker. So if I bounce the car, you can actually watch that happen.
Yeah.
So
okay.
when one wheel goes up, the other wheel goes down, it'll put in either compression or tension. And you can change how hard or stiff it is based off of how large the bar itself is. So instead of making like a change, like changing what position the bar is in, you change out the entire bar. The way that it starts to compress and go into tension, it's actually really smooth and really linear, and it provides a really good feel. And that's part of what makes this car handle as well as it does.
For me, building a car, I actually completely forgot to put space in my car for the torsion style roll bars, and then I was like, well, I have no roll bars, and it handles like absolute trash. The 4-rotor handles like absolute trash on the track. It's just pure roll. It's just 100% roll because the shock is just trying to do what it can. Getting up to here, is it more common to see a side-by-side or a single-seater?
It varies. It really does. We've seen it's about 50-50 depending on what you're wanting to do with the car. Usually, if you're just wanting to go racing with it, you never have any intention to have a passenger, we'll see center seats all the time. If it's someone that just wants it for like a track day car, maybe take out some friends to go ride shotgun with them, they'll get a double seat. Some people just really like being offset one side or the other. You know, in a street car, it's what you're used to. But a lot of it comes down to what are you trying to use the car for?
What's under here?
Not a whole lot, luckily.
Okay.
It's actually, it's very light. All your powertrain's in the back. So all you need to worry about is really just the footwell and the suspension, the brakes in the front. There's a few latches up top, and then there's quarter turn fasteners on the side. Effectively a glorified flathead. It's got captive springs on them, so you never lose them, like some styles. And the nice thing is because there's so many of them, it's not going to ever go anywhere. And if you do lose one or two just over the course of a race, it's not going to fly off.
Yeah.
Pop it up. There's a quick release plug for the lights, and then it just slides off.
Wow.
Fairly lightweight. Again, it's purpose built for the track, so anything you don't need to go fast, it's not there. Large front splitter with the diffuser element just to help make more front downforce. You've got a aluminum honeycomb crash structure up front that absorbs a lot of frontal impact. If you run into the back of the car, tag a wall, tire barrier, whatever, it's going to absorb the impact so that way the front of the car isn't going to crush up into the chassis.
So this thing just unbolts from the chassis?
Yeah, so there is, we've got a little cover here for
nice.
the footwell. Mostly just to keep any kind of rubber debris from getting in there.
A little fire suppression?
Yep, so it's a full fire suppression bottle that goes to the engine bay and into the cockpit. You've got a pull here and a pull inside as well. So driver or track marshal can grab it. Luckily, we never had to use one. Hopefully we can keep it that way. But
Yeah.
these cars are really, really safe, so it's mainly there because you want to have it in case, not because you normally see that. But this front crash box, it really just bolts on. You've got 4 bolts up top, 2 on each side, and then another 3 on the bottom. Wow. And because the whole splitter bolts to the crash box, you can take all of it off as one big piece.
Oh, that is cool. This is something that we make a mistake on our builds, is that we tend to overbuild. And so see how small these rods are? They're under tension from the front splitter. We would make this probably an inch or inch and a half, and it would be completely unnecessary. So it's neat to see, okay, that's what these are meant to do. But what really throws me off is, and I'm almost jealous, is how small everything is, because smaller definitely means not cheaper in the quality sense, but in the consumable sense. You know, you buy a car with 18s, 19s, and you get these massive brakes, and you want carbon, you don't need carbon ceramics for what most of us do. You spend a lot of money on that. The consumables, I'm assuming, are a lot cheaper.
Oh, substantially.
Yeah.
For the performance you get, these cars are really, really cheap to run.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a race car. Racing's expensive, but the fact of the matter is we've run these cars with very little maintenance for just as fast as they go.
Yeah.
Regular old solid steel rotors, nothing special. It's actually from like an old 90s Ford Escort, funny enough.
Awesome.
Just regular 4-pot calipers on it from the UK. They're actually a local place near Radical over there, so we get them fairly inexpensive from them as well. PFC pads, but the car's so light they last forever. Even though there's no brake cooling too, because that's the other thing, is just it's less weight, less complexity. The car really doesn't need it. The SR3, it's bigger overall and it's got more power, so it's going to need some of that, but for this car, not necessary at all.
On a track like this, what would you say the speed difference is between the different models on a professional level?
Yeah, so a quick time like at Atlanta Motorsports Park where we're at in an SR1 is going to be in the low 20s. 1 minute 20, 21 in that area is going to be a really good time here. Most students that we see in like our advanced schools are going to be 23s, 24s, 25s in that window. And an SR3, once you start jumping into that, again, low 20s into the high teens. And then when you get into something like the SR10, you can get into the mid-teens, 115, 116, in those areas.
And then in comparison, what would be like a normal, not street car, but somebody who's got some track prep, what would a track prep typical car do out here?
Yeah, most people have a track prepped, Z06 or something of that sort. They might get into the 20s, 1 minute 20s. They're going to probably be in the high 130s, and they might get into the high 120s.
Wow. Yeah.
If they're really hustling the car.
Yeah, so these things are incredibly fast. And I think that helps you learn a lot more about the threshold and limits of braking, acceleration, turning, all the things that you need to come to primal racing to learn. Okay, so this is really neat, that if you go on the sim, like Assetto Corsa, Radical, I saw, had commissioned, basically had a team help make this XXR, the SR3, in the game, and Radical actually involved themselves in making a very accurate version of the car for the game as far as the sims can go. But it was incredible. Like, you can adjust just about everything that you can in real life, you can adjust in there, and it was actually pretty overwhelming because I just left it default in preparation for driving here. But it's neat to see the real car in person and know that I still can't drive it. So this is the bigger brother, the SR3, and you can already start to see some major differences, but I'm not the person to try and say what those are.
It's kind of the main platform that you'll see across the Radical lineup. It's the most popular model, it's the most versatile, you can take it pretty much everywhere. These cars are all over the globe. It really is just upscaled. There's some little bit better quality of life things just because it's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. Obviously, front brake cooling, it's got bigger tires, bigger brakes, it's got slicks instead of a treaded tire.
Okay.
So that's the other thing to note. A little bit bigger crash structure just because you are carrying a little bit more speed, you're carrying a bit more weight, you do need to be larger. The design of the front splitter is the same as the one. Again, it's just bigger. Side pods with the arrow, a little bit different. It's a little bit slicker, a little bit different setup. This is actually a slightly older generation car that's got a different setup compared to the brand new generation SR3 XXR that just came out. It's got revised cooling, revised arrow, some other fancy bits. But for the most part, from the front of the car to the firewall, it's mostly the same, which is really nice. As we go to the back, a lot of the layout's the same, but with a big thing that you'll notice is the rear end with the differential.
Right.
It goes from a chain drive differential to a traditional gear drive differential. It's got a reverse mechanism in there, so you do have an actual reverse gear, unlike the chain drive. The other nice thing about this is it's got interchangeable gear ratios. So there's just a little side cover over here. You just pop that off, drain the oil out, throw whatever ratio set you want in it, seal it back up, and you go. We'll change the ratios pretty much track to track. And I mean, there's the standard ratio that comes in, it's good for pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
But when you start racing, you really want to get as much possible out of every little corner you can at every track. So we've got probably half a dozen different ratios that we use.
The thing that makes me happy is seeing the dry sump tank, because you can track a wet sump car, a traditional car with an oil pickup, but you watch your oil pressure, and even on my race car, I had baffling and all this sort of stuff. I would do a transition from one turn to another, and the oil just boop, nope, I'm not there.
Just enough, and over time it'll start wearing down your bearings.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
especially with the car that makes this much grip and downforce, it needs to have a dry sump. It's pretty much a requirement, effectively.
Yeah.
So it's got a fairly large oil tank. The tank as it sits right now probably holds a little over a gallon in it, and then there's a little over half a gallon throughout the cooling system, the motor itself, and I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a bike motor, so almost 2 gallons worth of oil is a lot.
For a bike, yeah.
Yeah. For a regular car motor, if you were using, like, just say a regular 2 liter with a dry sump in this type of car, you're looking at close to 2 full gallons for the system, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
It's actually what the SR10 uses, since it uses an EcoBoost 4-cylinder.
Yeah. So we are going to continue hanging out and talking more about cars, but I'm here to hang out with Tyler. This is something that it's outside of my comfort zone, because like I know how to build a car, not necessarily this quality, but in my mind I think I could make a halfway decent stab at it, but I don't know how to build a better car until I learn how to drive a car like this. That's insane.
Good job. That's awesome.
Oh my god.
Oh shit. Oh my. No. No, we can't go. What did you do? Are we stuck? Oh no.